Then in the tub, towards the end of the time I was in the tub, my doctor checked me while I was still in the water, and because my water had not broken still, and I was 9.5. She said there was a little lip of cervix left, but if I wanted to start pushing, I could. And I definitely felt the urge to, but I didn't want to get out of the water because I thought for sure everything would get more painful when I did. And in hindsight, I should have got out and started pushing then, but I didn't. And I had a couple contractions that were just almost unbearable. In the back of my head, I kept thinking, I want an epidural. I don't want to feel this. But I knew it was too late. And yeah, so then I was in the water and my body started pushing for me. And the doula and the doctor are like, my doula was like, she's pushing. And my doctor was like, get out of the water. And I was like, I'm not pushing. Like, my body was doing it. It was nothing I had control over. And, you know, they were like, get out. And I was like, no. And I didn't intend on having the baby in the water. But at the same time, I couldn't get out of the water when my body was pushing. So I had to wait until that contraction had ended. And then I immediately got up and got out of the water, went over to the bed, and the next contraction started pushing, and she was born at 11:24. Pushing felt great. It really took the edge off of the pain. My doula and my doctor really worked hard to protect my perineum. My doctor did massage the whole time I was pushing, not like when I was pushing, but in between. And she used mineral oil, and she just kept pouring it on there and stretching. And then when I was pushing, my doula held warm, moist compresses against the perineum. And when she was crowning, I felt a little burning, like they say you will. And, you know, I told them it's burning now. And then they were like, okay, just breathe, don't push. And they were able to coach me through that so that everything could stretch out like it needed to. And then, you know, a push or two after we let everything do what it needed to do, she was born. And it was pretty awesome. I didn't say when my water broke, but my water broke when I was pushing. I think it was like probably 3 pushes or so before she was born. Right before she crowned, my water broke. So, yep, bags of water were intact for most of labor, and then just broke right at delivery. So, she did come out with her hand next to her head. My perineum was intact, but on the side, on the inside, she kind of split the skin open a little bit because of her hand being there. So I did end up with a stitch, but it's not my perineum, so it doesn't hurt to sit. And I had a 3rd-degree tear last time. With so many stitches, they didn't tell me how many I had, but it took an hour to stitch me up with my son. And I had to have physical therapy for a good 3 or 4 months before I was no longer in pain. So 6 months postpartum, I was finished with my physical therapy with him, and things were back to normal. It was terrible. So I think we did a really good job keeping everything not damaged. So that was a relief. And right when she was born, we delayed the cord clamping, especially with our blood disorder. It's really good if we can get all the cord blood um, to the baby. We did that with my son. He got all his cord blood. We don't know if she carries the blood disorder that makes us anemic, and by us I mean my family. But my dad carries it. My sister, brother, myself, my son, and they say it's 25% chance, but it's every blood-related person in my family. So chances are pretty high that she would also carry that trait. So we delayed the cord clamping, and they put her skin to skin on me right away. And the cord clamped on its own, delivered the placenta, cut the cord, and I requested to delay all newborn procedures. And so they left the baby on me for like a good hour. I got to nurse her. We had skin to skin. My husband got to really check her out, and it was just pretty awesome. After that, like, hour period when they're alert and awake and feed and everything, they took her to be weighed, and she was 7 pounds, 11 ounces. They measured her. She's 19 and a half inches long. And yeah, that's pretty much all they did. Then they put her back on me, skin to skin. And it was funny because they kept taking my temperature, and they were like, "You have a fever." And I'm like, "No, I don't. This half of my body is really warm, and this isn't." Like, if she was laying on this side, my body temperature would rise to keep her warm. And then, I would be like hot and sweaty on that side, so I would move her to this side, and this side would warm up, and that side would cool down. And it's just so amazing what your body can do. And my doula said, "Yeah, that's so you if you had twins, you would be able to regulate them independently. Like, each half of your body will warm up to keep your baby warm right after it's born." So, once we got her up and got her bath and everything, and she had not been on me because we were bathing her, they took my temperature and it was gone. So, and then when they gave her back to me, it went up again. So I was like, yeah, it's because, my body is warming up to keep her warm. So the whole labor and delivery itself was great. When we were in triage, they said, "Do you have a birth plan?" My doula said, "You can write a birth plan if you want, but sometimes the nurses or doctors, it kind of puts them off if you hand them a plan, because birth is, you can't really have a plan for it. You can know what you want and your wishes, but things come up, and when you say this is how I want things, it kind of puts them off. So, they said, "What's your birth plan?" And we just said, as little intervention as possible. And I was so proud of our hospital because I didn't really have to be monitored. No one said a word to me about any kind of pain medication. I didn't hear the word epidural. They told me I could push however I wanted. Like, if I wanted, we had a birthing stool. They said I could be on my hands and knees. I could use the birthing ball. I could squat. I could do whatever I wanted. They said, do what you want, and we will make it work. And I was just really impressed with how well that sentence worked for my birth plan, is as little intervention as possible. Even after she was born, they took that little intervention as possible to mean keep the baby with the mom. They didn't do anything unless I was ready for them to. So it was really, really nice. And I read a book called Natural Hospital Birth, and that book really did help me learn about, like, standard procedures and things you can ask for and things you shouldn't ask for. And it's a really good book. I recommend that. And I got it on Amazon. It's called Natural Hospital Birth. That's the name of the book. Even things like I was drinking water when I was in labor. No one said anything to me about it. It was awesome. And yeah, so that is the story. I got everything I wanted. I got this beautiful baby girl, which she's asleep now, but you guys have seen her multiple times. And I got to do everything naturally. And you guys said you were interested in me doing an epidural versus an unmedicated story, so I definitely am going to do that. And I want to do that because I want to share with you my two different, just what I noticed different between them. And now for the not so fun part of my story. So everything was great with the labor and delivery. I did have postpartum hemorrhaging, and that really, really sucked. And she was born at 11:24. I was in labor and delivery until 4 o'clock that night because my bleeding would not stop. They had to put me on Pitocin postpartum. I didn't have a drip of anything in labor. And then, an hour postpartum, I was still bleeding heavily. So they came in, they started Pitocin, they turned it all the way up, and I got 800 milligrams of Cytotec in my bum, and that is the drug. I said, I do not want that drug. But the doctor and my doula, they both told me what my other options were, and there was a medication they could give me through an injection. I forget what it was called, but they said it could mess with my blood pressure, and that Cytotec was actually the least risky drug to help my uterus clamp down. And my doula knew I was afraid of that drug, so she was like, it's completely different when it's used this way, and it'll help stop your bleeding. And yeah, so I was on Pitocin and Cytotec from 12:30 to 8 o'clock that night, so all day. And even when I did go up to my postpartum room, they kept the Pitocin going for 4 more hours, and it really bummed me out because I had this wonderful labor and delivery, and I had my baby, and then I had to have fake contractions for the next 7 hours, 8 hours. I don't know exactly how long it was, but towards the end, I kept calling the nurses because it was making me feel nauseous just having contractions all day for no reason. I mean, there was a reason to stop the bleeding, but it was just irritating. And I was like, can you please turn my Pitocin off? And finally, the doctor wrote an order to turn it off. They had to check my hemoglobin and make sure I didn't need a transfusion first. And had I not had that transfusion in pregnancy, I definitely would have needed one postpartum. So I'm really glad that I had that transfusion. It saved me from having a really terrible experience after birth. And all in all, when they turned the Pitocin off, that was over. And I had the normal after pains with breastfeeding. Those lasted for 4 days. But yeah, that's the only bad part of my whole labor and delivery story. So that's what happened, and she's here, and she's beautiful, and she's such a good baby so far. She's 2 weeks old today, but aren't you, baby girl? So, yeah, if you guys have any questions, let me know. I'm going to be doing that video about medicated versus non-medicated birth, and I'm also going to do a review of using a doula because I know some of you girls have hired doulas or are thinking about it, and I want to let you know what my experience with having a doula was. So if you guys have any questions, leave them below. But thank you girls for watching. Bye.